So if you're anything like me and you've kept up with the rumors suggesting that we will be getting Wind Waker and or Twilight Princess HD ported over to the Nintendo Switch over the last year and a half plus, you are probably very tired of the subject at this point in time, as am I, because as a Zelda fan, we want these games officially announced and revealed with release dates. And in today's video, we have to break down the reason these games are back in the news and discuss whether or not we do indeed know the date or at least the week of the next upcoming Nintendo Direct and some major Zelda games that may be set for reveal potentially in less than 2 weeks. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, we are breaking down everyone's favorite topic, that is, when can we expect the next official Nintendo Direct to not only be revealed and take place, but also what games can we expect to be featured at this event, as clearly 2022 has been a very interesting year when it comes to Nintendo news, because Nintendo, quite frankly, went off script from what you can historically predict them to do in terms of presentations in any given year, which is your historical 3 mainline general directs, one towards the beginning of the year as early as January, as late as March, typically in February, one in the middle part of the year, typically aligned with E3, and even when not, at least in a June time slot, which we did not get a mainline direct this year, but rather game focused directs and a partner mini showcase. And third and finally, a late or end of year direct focused in the September time window primarily, sometimes as late as October or way back in the day featured in November. But those are the typical safe bets for mainline general direct presentations from Nintendo, and I definitely think that this year fans have been feeling that drought of announcements, at least in an organized event, because while games are absolutely coming out for the Switch this year and there's a ton of stuff to play, it is still nice to have those big marquee events where we can all gather together as Nintendo fans and have essentially a Christmas morning moment where you wake up super exciting knowing that you're going to sit through 30 to 40 minutes of brand new, a lot of first party focused Nintendo game reveals, and it's just something that's flat out exciting as a Nintendo fan. And while you can just look at September and say logically, especially in light of skipping the June Direct, that a direct presentation just makes sense for Nintendo, that's definitely the camp that I've been in this entire time. You still have people worried that maybe since Nintendo did go off their typical schedule this year, that the rest of the year is not going to hold to any kind of schedule and we won't get any more communication from them before the holiday season. And to that I say it makes zero logical sense that Nintendo would not want to market additional titles that we don't know about yet that may be at this upcoming presentation before the holiday season, where retail sales go through the roof. And the reason this is in the news today is primarily due to a name that I'm sure everybody that keeps up with gaming news is familiar with. That is Jeff Grubb, notable gaming journalist that also tends to talk about things that he's heard through the grapevine. And while plans change and nobody has any kind of perfect track record, there are at least enough projects that have been straight up hinted at or confirmed by Grubb ahead of their official release that I tend to put some stock into what he has to say. Granted, there are things that are also speculation that you can't take as fact, and I want to stress this, especially for the Zelda fans, before we read through the detailed article of what's been claimed here. We have to discuss the fact that until Nintendo announces something, it is never official, and you shouldn't ever put 100% stake into any leaks and rumors, especially considering that when everybody was expecting Zelda's 35th anniversary to get the huge blowout event that Mario did, it did not happen, and that was the logical thought process behind everybody. So we may not get any Zelda games at this upcoming Direct, and you have to keep that in the back of your mind. That said, if you are going to be on the ride for potentially putting some hope into the fact that we could still see these games release ahead of Breath of the Wild 2, because I think they're coming to the Switch eventually regardless, the big question right now is does it happen before Nintendo releases their mainline installment in the Zelda series, which is Breath of the Wild 2? So to get on the same page with what's been claimed here and break down all the exact quotes, let's quickly hop over to VGC and read through their detailed typed up article together. A Nintendo Direct featuring Wind Waker and Twilight Princess is reportedly coming in September. It's claimed the event will be a Zelda blowout and may also include a Metroid Prime remaster. That's according to GamesBeat managing editor Mike Minotti and Game Bomb reporter Jeff Grubb, who were speaking on a podcast this week. To be clear, guys, the one thing we are very sure is being announced at this Direct are the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess ports for Switch, Minotti said. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of Zelda stuff at this thing, Grubb said. I think this is like a Zelda blowout for Nintendo. 100% there's a Nintendo Direct in September. It's that simple. There's still some uncertainty about whether this will be a general Direct, maybe a mini. There was some talk of it being a partner Direct. Grubb added, if they're going to have Zelda stuff there, this is not a partner Direct. Grubb added, if they're going to have Zelda stuff there, this is not a partner Direct, and those are the things that we've been hearing. The specifics that were name dropped were Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD ports to the Switch. Which again, even had we not heard that, I would be speculating that that would be happening right now while we wait for the run-up to Breath of the Wild 2. And yet we've heard that, and we've heard other things. Again, Metroid Prime Remaster, that sounds like it's got to be announced at something like this. And then third parties will be showing up, he continued. I've heard some of that as well. It's not super exciting, the things I've heard. To me, it sounds like at least a mini Direct, but if it's going to have the name of the next Zelda, which seems like a distinct possibility, that sounds like a big general Direct. Grubb said he'd heard from a pretty good source that the event will take place during the week beginning September 12th. Based on everything he'd heard about the Direct, Minotti said everything outside of the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker announcements is speculation. The Metroid Prime thing seems like it should be happening. It's a lot of remasters to announce in one thing, but maybe that will be a little bit of a theme here. So whether or not you choose to put any kind of stock into your expectations on whether or not this will be taking place that week and whether or not these type of games will be there, the good thing is we do not have to wait very long at all to find out. We are legitimately less than 2 weeks, or exactly 2 weeks at the time of filming this video, away from the claimed dates. So we will know relatively shortly if this thing is happening, and if we do get the Direct announced for that week, well, I will say that for me personally, my hype levels will certainly skyrocket in terms of the hope that we may see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD revealed there, because keeping up with those rumors over the course of time, I have definitely lost a lot of that hope as time has gone on, because I want those games on the Switch so bad. I know many other Zelda fans do as well. People that are on the Switch are ready to play those games. The Wii U was not sold to many people in comparison to the Switch, and it just makes sense to bring them over. They are one of the few games that were left behind to that system, and the general thought process since they've been in the rumor mill speculation talk is that Nintendo would utilize them if Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 needed more development time and wasn't ready to go in 2022, and that's the scenario we're in. You do have to have the conversation around the fact that we are getting close to when Nintendo is saying Breath of the Wild 2 would launch, and so does it make sense to launch Zelda games this year? And historically, since the Switch has launched, and even prior to, Nintendo has historically liked to have one new Zelda game on their platform per year, and this would definitely fill that void for 2022. But is it too quick of a turnaround time if we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2 in something like March, like a lot of people are thinking, to close out Nintendo's fiscal year? And my thought process, and even Grubbs on his podcast briefly said that maybe spring it's ready to go, but at the tail end of it, or maybe it's actually closer to summer when that game launches. And I can definitely see Nintendo potentially not having that game ready to launch at the end of March or the beginning of March. So we will have to wait and see for all that. In addition to the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, the other big rumored game that has me hyped is Metroid Prime Remastered, that I have been purposely not replaying the game in full because I want to experience it on the Switch in HD, and this one is claimed to have a big boy treatment remaster, meaning it is not just a simple up-res, but rather new textures, most likely some new gameplay mechanics baked in there, and I personally cannot wait to dive back into that world. And we might be talking about quick turnarounds on releases like this, as similar to how Nintendo marketed the Mario 3D All-Stars collection and launched it in the same month in September back in 2020. We could see them do something very similar for Legend of Zelda games that people already know are done and ready to go, and really don't have to have much work done to them at all to bring over to the Switch. So we could be submitting our pre-orders for those games as soon as they're revealed, and then you know that the 20th anniversary for Metroid Prime happens in November. So I definitely think that if there was ever a window to reveal these games and put them on the front stage, this is the time to do it. Let's hope it is September 14th. Let's throw that date out there. Let's say it's Wednesday, right in the middle of the week. Maybe it's the Tuesday of the 13th, could be as late as Thursday the 15th, but I will definitely have my eyes on that week. Maybe we're lucky and it's revealed even sooner than that, and Nintendo actually gives us some lead up on what to expect. But 9 times out of 10, if it's not attached to E3 in terms of their direct presentation schedule, scheduling. We are most likely going to find out about this thing 1 to 2 days, most likely 2 days before it is ready to go and all eyes can be on Nintendo's presentation. I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, all your personal thoughts and speculation on whether or not you think we will see Nintendo hold their traditional September Direct this year in 2022, and do you put any stock into the idea that the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD may be at this event? How do you think Nintendo markets these titles? Because that's another big divisive point around these games. Do they go the combo pack route and give them to us at $60, or maybe they do something weird and market it at $90, but you get both games together in the same cartridge? Or do they go the separate path and actually release these as standalone $60 individual releases, which so far every single Wii U game that Nintendo has ported over has come over at a full price $60, which is technically a price increase from what they originally sold on the Wii U at their $50 retail price. So definitely some interesting things to pay attention to, and share with me where your hype levels fall for things like Metroid Prime Remaster. Will that be a day one pickup for you? And do you think that we do get that acknowledgement there? And lastly, do you think we actually get Breath of the Wild 2's title at this event? Is that too much Zelda for one Direct? It kind of sounds like that, but Nintendo could do a Zelda blowout presentation and give us Zelda fans truly what we've been waiting for the last year and a half plus. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, where we discuss a new handheld console that did leak online early, in addition to a interesting round of system updates that Nintendo chose to release. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.